In this topic, we're going to look at what takes place in the mouth and what's inside your teeth. So by the end of this topic, you should be able to answer the questions: what takes place in your mouth? Where are your salivary glands? How do the tongue and saliva work together? What does the tongue do? What are the different types of teeth? What's a dental formula? And finally, what's inside a tooth? So when you see the words in purple, remember to fill these in your notes. Have you ever wondered what actually goes on in your mouth when you take a bite of an apple at break time? Well, let's have a look at why your mouth is so important in digestion. So as you chew your food, it gets masticated into even smaller pieces. So why do we need to chew food? Well, this is that can be broken up into even smaller pieces to increase the surface area for enzyme action. For example, when you bite into a sandwich, it gradually gets broken down into smaller pieces, increasing the surface area for enzymes. So the tongue tastes and pushes the food around the mouth, and the food mixes with the saliva, which contains enzymes. So have you ever wondered where your saliva comes from? You've got 3 pairs of glands in your mouth, which are represented by these red blobs on this diagram. So the first gland is located at the back of your mouth near the soft bit called the soft palate. So it's at the back there. Then just below the tongue is another salivary gland called the sublingual gland. And below your lower jaw is the submandibular gland. Now you don't really need to know these names in detail, you just need to know that you've got salivary glands that produce saliva. So how do the tongue and saliva work together? Well, the saliva softens and moistens the food for easy swallowing. And then it contains enzymes, for example, salivary amylase, that converts starch into maltose. So when you take a bite of that sandwich, the carbohydrate, starch, is being broken down into maltose, a sugar. So what does the tongue do? Well, the tongue rolls the food into a ball called a bolus. So fill this word in your notes. And it pushes it to the back of the mouth for swallowing. So when you were born, you had no teeth. And your first set of teeth that appeared were called your milk teeth. So ask your parents when your first set of teeth appeared. You would have had 20 milk teeth. Then at about 5 years old, the milk teeth would have been replaced by permanent teeth. Do you know how many permanent teeth you'll have? So an adult has 32 permanent teeth. So let's have a look at what different types of teeth there are. So it's a good idea to stand in front of the mirror and examine your different types of teeth. The first set of teeth are your incisors. They're found at the front of the mouth. You've got 4 on top and 4 at the bottom. So they're the first teeth that you lose when you're a child. They've got sharp edges and they work like a set of scissors to bite food. So if you were to pull out your incisor, it would look like this drawing on the right there. So count how many incisors you have in your mouth. There should be 8. Sitting next to your incisors are those sharp teeth. So in vampire movies, they usually accentuate them. They're called your canines. So in your mouth, you have 4 canines. They are more important in carnivores, which use them to rip flesh. So humans don't really need to do this much, so we've got smaller canines. behind each canine are 2 premolars. This means that you've got 8 premolars in total in your mouth. Then there are 6 molars in the top jaw and 6 in the bottom jaw. The last molars that come out are called your wisdom teeth, so you might not have them yet. So feel your molars with your tongue. They've got bumps called cusps that grind up food when the top and bottom teeth rub against each other. So bite down and see how your teeth fit together. The molars have got more cusps than the premolars. So here's a picture of the lower jaw of a human skull. Can you identify the different types of teeth? So you've got the incisors at the front, followed by the canines, then your premolars, and finally your molars. Which tooth is missing? It's the molar. Okay, let's have a look at the human dental formula. So this gives the number and type of teeth in the half of the upper and lower jaw. So you need to divide the jaw into 2 like I've done here and count the teeth that fall in one half of the upper and lower jaw. So looking at the left of this red line, you can see that you've got 2 incisors. How many canines do you have? 1 canine, so 1 at the top, 1 at the bottom. 2 premolars, and finally 3 molars. So the human dental formula is 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's have a look at what's inside a tooth. The crown is the part of the tooth you see above the gum. So it's covered in enamel, which is a really hard substance containing calcium salts. That's one of the reasons why calcium is good for you. So calcium is the hardest of the parts of the tooth and also the hardest of all the tissues of the human body. So tooth enamel is a protective structure that covers the part of the tooth, the crown. So remember to fill these purple words in your notes. Just below the crown you've got the neck, so this is the area between the crown and the root. And then you've got the root. So this is the part of the tooth under the gums and inside the jaw bone. And it keeps the tooth in place. Below the enamel is the dentine, which is a bit like bone. So it's not as strong as enamel, and it contains living cells and lots of calcium salts. So it forms the main mass of the tooth, and it supports the tooth enamel and absorbs the pressure of chewing when eating. So dentine is the tissue below the tooth enamel that forms the main mass of the tooth. And remember that it absorbs the pressure of chewing when eating. Then you've got the dental pulp. So the middle of the tooth is a hollow pulp cavity filled with capillaries and nerves. So this is called the dental pulp. It's a soft connective tissue containing nerves and blood vessels that nourish the tooth. So the nerves are the ones that feel that hot and cold pain. You know, when you bite into an ice cream. The cementum is the part of tooth anatomy that covers the dentine outside the root. So it's like a glue-like substance. So here you can see all the labels of the tooth. And remember the 3 on the left, the crown, the neck, and the root. Okay, in summary, we looked at what takes place in your mouth, your different salivary glands, remember that you've got 3 sets, how the tongue and saliva work together to form the bolus, The tongue forms the bolus that's easy to swallow, and then you've got your different types of teeth. You've got the incisors, canines, premolars, and molars. Can you remember what the dental formula is? And finally, we looked at what's inside a tooth. And that concludes our lesson. The end.